My dear sister, as for me, I am rather often uneasy in my mind, because I think that my life has not been calm enough. All those bitter disappointment, adversities, changes keeps me from developing fully and naturally in my artistic career.
July 29th, 1890 was Vincent's decision date. The curtains fall and the show wins. Death, something Vincent was taunted in since day one, having the name of his dead brother, a dead man walking in a living body, well, until he doesn't. And in his death, I found beginning, a full circle. So, back to the starting point, shall we go? A replacement baby he is. On 30th March 1853, there were the first cries of the new baby Vincent Van Gogh, coming to replace a brother who had the same name a year before, to replace the never-heard little cries with his. And that fact is something that scarred Van Gogh very deeply, as he fell under the shadow of an angel, unrealistic expectations to be someone else than him. His dead brother was the execution his mother used to put him down, making him lose a sense of self, something we see along his journey. Vincent, as he liked to sign his paintings, was an art kid since day one. In his childhood, his amateur painter mother used to take him and his siblings to scenes for them to draw. None of them was really interested, except for Vincent himself. He observed it as a way to connect with his mother and earn her validation, to win her love in his competition with his dead brother, but all he got was neglect. And with the years moving on to the age 15, our protagonist reached. Vincent was pulled out of school and was pushed to work. But despite that, beside his mother tongue, he spoke English, French and German. He started working at his uncle's painting shop with his brother Theo. But he despised it, really despised it, to an extent that he told customers that the art here is just worthless, which of course business-wise is awful. But why did he exactly despise it? Well, you can say it's just wanting to appeal to the other parent. So let's take a step back and look at Vincent's family. His father was a pastor, which in that time, besides wanting to be an artist influenced by his mother, he wanted to be a man of religion following his father's steps. Being mind-shredded between the two and wanting an escape, he moved to our next stop, Amsterdam, where Vincent went to study the Bible, but probably delivered by his mind and its contradictions. The man who speaks 4 languages refuses to enter the Latin exam, calling it a dead language in front of the pastors. And you might be just wondering, why the fuck did he just do that? It's a job requirement. If he wanted to be a man of religion, he had to learn Latin. And I'd say to you that we just hit the jackpot. It is the other side of him, wanting to be a painter. Contradictions again. But it is not quite safe. Actually the opposite, very dangerous. Vincent is not talking to his father refusing his orders. He's refusing the church's orders, and it is the 1800s. Big goof there, dude. So, he was sent, or volunteered, to a poor industrial region named Borinage in Belgium, to be a preacher there. Despite the church considering this place an exile, Vincent found himself there. For 14 months, Vincent was the preacher in Borinage, did many charitable things, left his house given to him by the church for a poor woman to live in, and went to live among the coal miners, and started to make paintings of them, treating them like people, and that's why they called him the Christ of the coal mine. But as life always likes to remind us, nothing lasts forever. The church didn't like what he was doing. I imagine them being like, "What kind of preacher gave away his house and those workers? Fired!" Yeah, but anyway, he was given a job away to be an artist. But anyway, he was given the job away as he just made his mind he's going to be an artist. But like any dreamer, he will have to face his family. And the family of course wasn't pleasant. Yeah, they were the opposite. They mocked him, they opposed his dreams, and they wanted him to have a real job and not some weird artist. Except for one, Theo, his younger brother. He had faith in him so much that he genuinely believed that his brother will be the equivalent in painting to Beethoven in music, and agreed to finance his brother all along. And with that, the new chapter in Vincent's life sparks. Van Gogh moved to The Hague in 1881 to be closer to his cousin Anton Mauve, who was an established artist at that time. Under Mauve's guidance, Van Gogh began to refine his artistic skills and techniques. He focused on drawing watercolor during this time, capturing scenes from everyday life, such as landscapes and urban scenes. At the Hague School of Artists were known for their realist approach to painting. It had an influence on Van Gogh's work during this period, of course. He started to incorporate elements of realism into his art, paying close attention to light, shadow, and the details of his subjects. And during the Hauge period, Van Gogh's palette took on a darker tone, reflecting the influence of the Dutch masters and the Hauge school. He used earthy colors and focused on creating mood and atmosphere in his works, as Van Gogh's time in the Hague allowed him to observe lives of working-class people, and he became interested in depicting scenes that portrayed the struggles and emotions of ordinary individuals. His art started to reflect his empathy for the less fortunate. And during this period of life, Vincent fell in love with portraits. He created several portrait studies, often featuring people from his surrounding. These early portraits work showcased his developing ability to capture the characters and emotions of his subjects. While the Hauge period was important for Van Gogh's development as an artist, it also marked a transitional phase in his life. In 1883, he moved to Nuenen to live with his family, who lived there between the years 1882 and 1885. Nuenen was a rural village in the Netherlands, where he would continue to refine his artistic style and explore new subject matter. Van Gogh was drawn to Nuenen because of its rural settings and its strong religious community. He was particularly interested in the lives of the local peasants, whom he saw as being close to nature and God. During his time in Nuenen, Vincent painted a variety of subjects that were close to his heart, including rural landscapes, scenes of peasant life, and a depiction of his immediate surroundings. His art began to reflect his deep empathy for the struggles and emotions of everyday people, like you can see in the painting that are displayed now. But not just that. Van Gogh's time in Nuenen was marked by a continued evolution of his artistic style. He started to use thicker brushstrokes, bolder colors, and more pronounced texture in his works. His focus on light and shadow became more pronounced, as seen in his efforts to capture the effects of sunlight on various surfaces. And the defining painting of that era of his life is The Potato Eaters and the Church of Nuenen. The Potato Eaters depicts a group of peasants gathered around a table, illuminated by a single light source. The work characterized by its dark, earthy palette and intense expressions on the face of the subjects. Van Gogh aimed to capture the dignity of their hard-working lives, and for the Church of Nuenen, it holds some background to its name. In 1884, Vincent's mother broke her leg, so he decided to make a painting of the church she used to go to give it to her, to give her a sense of familiarity and happiness while her leg was healing, showing that he is still craving his mother's approval, which he never gets. And very sadly actually, his mother around the same period wrote a letter to his brother Theo telling him that she wanted God to take her son Vincent. She just saw him as an embarrassment. In November of 1885, Van Gogh enrolled at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Antwerp. This decision was influenced by his desire to receive formal artistic training and to expand his knowledge of art techniques and theory. Van Gogh's time at the Academy exposed him to a wide range of artistic style and genres. He studied techniques such as drawing from plaster casts and copying masterpieces from the museum, but he didn't like it. He found himself repeating the same thing that he tried to do in his teens, being a copy to old artists on the same line of trying to be a copy of his mother or his father. He didn't want to be a Xerox of a Xerox again, and the decision was made. On March 1886, he was off to Paris. Ah yes, Paris. If anything, Vincent till this moment was a realism school follower, not trying to vary from the classic art, and it continued like that for a while here, which during it made a bunch of self-portraits that earned him the title the first selfie king. But after a while in Paris, everything changed. Impressionism suddenly entered the core, and with it, a mountain of great art and famous masterpieces. And like that, the well-known style of Vincent Van Gogh was born, with its bold brush strokes and vibrant feelings coming out of it, to an extent that he was addressed as a post-impressionism artist. And of course, Mr. Vincent didn't forget to make a ton of self-portraits in his new style, to continue the trend of the selfie king. Or did he? Okay, some of you might be thinking, of course it's him, it is labeled by his name, it must be him. But some experts suggest that it might be how he imagined his dead brother that held the name Vincent before him would be like. And the only thing we are sure about in the scene is that they belong to someone named Vincent Van Gogh. And our, at this stage, tour guide, Mr. Vincent, leaves into his newest stage of life for now, Arles and the Yellow House, the artist's colony dreams, and some of the most iconic paintings. And in order to achieve Vincent's dream, Theo decided to pay Paul Gauguin 150 francs every month to live with Vincent and the Yellow House, taking it a step closer to his dreams. And everything was good for a while, well, until it wasn't. Vincent and Gauguin's argument began to be more frequent. To a degree, Gauguin threatened Van Gogh that he would leave. At this stage, Vincent couldn't take it any longer, and one night he cut his ear and gave it to a prostitute and told her to keep it safe. It was a psychotic break. Theo came to Arles to be with his brother during his treatment. And at that time, people of Arles were making petition to exile him from the city. They saw him as a threat because he cut his ear off, and in May of 1889, he was placed in a mental institution in Saint-Remy. And Saint-Remy was some of the most mesmerizing and iconic paintings that were ever made by Vincent. Just imagine that during this time, Van Gogh continued to paint prolifically, producing over 150 paintings, including some of his most famous works, such as the Stary Night and Irises. And I think you know what's next. But before we get into that, if you have been enjoying our content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment down there telling us about your experience. Now, let's go back to the video. The composition of Stary Night features a small village with step-roofed houses in the foreground. The village is depicted in shades of blue, green and yellow, creating a stark contrast with the rich blues and dark colors of the sky. The sky dominates the upper half of the canvas with swirling dynamic pattern of stars, cloud and swirls. The stars and the moon provide points of light against the deep blue background, a soothing light, creating a sense of luminosity. The brushstrokes in Starry Night is a characteristic of Van Gogh's style during the later period. The thick swirling strokes of paint give the painting a sense of movement and energy. The texture of the paint is visible, adding to the tactile quality of the work, and to his brush strokes, especially the sky, we can find a very strange phenomenon for a painter in that era to know, something that we as humans discovered really recently. And here we can find it in someone's painting from the 1800s, and that is a turbulent flow, which is a terminology of some flows that liquids and gases move in, that we as humans can't easily predict yet. Something that if we grab the hold to, we will be able to predict hurricanes and whirlwinds and avoid it too. The swirling and turbulent patterns in the sky along with the intense colors contribute to a sense of emotional intensity. Some art historians have suggested that the painting may reflect Van Gogh's inner turmoil and mental state at that time. The contrast between the tranquil village and the dynamic sky can be interpreted as a visual representation of the duality between the peace and chaos, often coexist in a human experience, and the cypress tree in the foreground can be linked to death and the cycle of life, while the swirling sky could represent the movement of celestial bodies or the artist's emotional state. Starry Night has become one of the most recognized and celebrated artworks in the world. It has influenced countless artists and has had a lasting impact on popular culture. The painting's ability to evoke emotion and engage viewers in contemplation is a testament to its enduring power. It's a masterpiece that continues to captivate viewers with its emotional resonance, expressive use of color and form, and the sense of wonder it conveys in the face of the vastness of the cosmos. During his last stop in life, Vincent continued to do what he loved the most, painting prolifically, producing over 70 paintings, including some of the most famous works, such as the portrait of Dr. Gachet and the wheat field with crows. The latter can be seen as if he has foreseen his ending. Life in the painting is a very dark one, and crows are flying away because of the fire shooting sounds, and as most of the sources contributes. Vincent didn't end his own life. He was shot by some people who used to harass him while he was painting in that field. He went after being shot to his brother. He kept saying how much he was sorry and how much he made Theo suffer throughout his life. But to the last moment, Theo was supportive of his brother and sat there with him to remember their childhood memories, to reassure and calm down Vincent in his last days. And between his hands, 2 days later, Vincent's school, putting an end to his journey, and Theo, just 6 months later, followed his brother, leaving a wife and a son that had the same name of his brother, Vincent. After both Vincent and Theo passed away, Theo's widow, Johanna Bunga, whom Vincent was always afraid of, took on the responsibility of managing Vincent's artistic state, as it was her husband's life wish to see his brother become the Beethoven of painting, and she actually fought the mother to keep it, as his mother wanted to destroy all Vincent's work. She after that organized exhibitions and worked to promote his work. The first